Hi, everybody. Heather, I'm not sure. Are you going to start? Or do you want me to just jump in?
You can go. You can go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wendy Schwamm, and I'm glad that you're here this afternoon. The first thing I want to say is that I know how difficult it is to stay on a webinar. I know that there's always different things going on around you, so I want to let you know that we appreciate you taking time today, and that I would love to be able to talk to everybody, interact a little bit more. So I really encourage you all to use the questions area. And as we go through, if I see the questions pop up, I'll try to answer them right away, because that'll just get, at least pretend like we're in the room together. So just to let you know a little bit about myself, I've been in development for about 15 years. I've been with the Boys and Girls Club movement for just about, actually almost 3 years. I am at the Patterson and Passaic Club, which is in northern New Jersey, about 20 miles outside of New York City. And I tell you that just to kind of give you an idea of where we're coming from, and some of the program things that I've described are definitely major metro based and not so much rural. However, the ideas can be translated to all different kinds of clubs. We raise about $1.3 million annually through development. We have about a $4.2 million budget, so that kind of gives you an idea of the size of the club. We have 2 in our development department, and this past year, we won a MAC award for comprehensive marketing strategy, specifically focused around community partnerships. So that's what I'll be talking about today. And again, I hope you all use the question bar and throw them at me as we go. So with that in mind, and one other thing, as you're on your computer today, if you want to take a look at the website, our website, just to kind of give you an idea, it's www.bgcppnj.org. So let's go. All right, so Heather, if you can move the slide. And the first thing we're going to do is just find out a little bit more about you guys and who's in the room. So you should see on your screen a quick poll, and each of these polls will take about 15 seconds. So if you could please just let us know what role you play in development in your organization. That's terrific. Okay, so hopefully you can see the results. There's a majority of development officers and development managers and associates, a couple of CEOs and board members, and others. So you'll have to tell us what the other is so that I can know who's on the call. But if you can take a look at the next one and just let us know how many people are in your development department. Okay, and the overwhelming amount have 1 to 2, which, as we know, as I know, that is typical of most organizations, to have 1 or 2 people who do 10,000 different jobs, and the lucky 7% who have 6 or more, God bless. So the next poll, if we could take a minute to look at that, and just let us know how much money does your organization raise annually. Okay, so it's kind of balanced out. All right, great. So that's super helpful, and that helps me understand a little bit better about what you all are facing. So let's just get started. And Heather, if you could move the screen, that'd be great. So this big question: why invest in community partnerships when individual donations account for 80% of philanthropy? So many of you should know by now, in the industry, about 80% of the donations that come through to nonprofits in the nation are individuals. So why spend time? Why spend resources on this? And specifically with community support, you gather things that you don't gather through individual support. You gather large groups of volunteers who can come in and work with your kids. You get press. You get goodwill. But most importantly, as far as Boys and Girls Clubs go, We are actually flipped, as instead of 80 individual, 20 corporate, many clubs are about 70% corporate and 30% individual. So for those of you who have been looking at your numbers and trying to figure that out and explain that to your boards, I just want to give you a check and say, yes, that is typical of Boys and Girls Clubs. It doesn't mean that we can't get individual donors, but it does mean by our nature we have a strong connection to corporate philanthropy. So that's just something important. So if you can flip the slide, Heather. The question is, what is a community partners campaign anyway? And I tried to make a single sentence that kind of put it all together. And it's a comprehensive effort. It has to include many different things. It has to connect corporations and other business entities to your organization. It has to be year-round, and it has to provide a turnkey solution. What I mean by that is when a corporation, a bank, or anybody else is looking specifically to reach their corporate engagement goals, you want to be the place where they go, where they don't have to do anything but talk to you and show up. That is all that you want to be able to do. So the turnkey solution means that you can go to them and you can say, what are your needs and how do we meet them? Quite honestly, if it doesn't have to do with seniors or pets, any club across the nation can meet goals. And there are tons of different opportunities that the clubs offer that corporations can step right into. So, so just continue to think along those lines, that you are going to give them the answer to the questions that they have. You're going to be able to make their job easier. So, okay, so we have a question, just so again we can see where everybody is. Do you have a formal community partner program in place? Not sponsorships, not event sponsorships, but something very specifically where you target and speak to community partners. Okay, very interesting. Okay, good. So about 40% yes and about, yeah, 65% no. Doesn't make sense, yeah. Okay, and the next one, how many community partners do you work with every year? Okay, great. Good, good, good. So everybody's got it, I think, at least a little bit of something. And yeah, if you can go to that slide, Heather, this is something that's very important to consider. We stopped thinking about our partners as sponsors, and the reason for that is that becomes transactional. So as a sponsor, thank you for coming to our gala, and thank you for giving us a couple $1,000, and here's a sign, and here's a journal ad, and that's it. So the only time you speak to those partners or those corporations is during that transaction. What we transformed to was a community partnership program, and that means that we have discussions with our community partners throughout the year. Included in that discussion would be the gala, the golf tournament, whatever other kinds of signature events you have, but the discussion is not just about that. It is truly about their goals, their community partnership goals, what do they want to achieve, and what do we have during the year that can help them achieve that. So one of the things that I want to talk about is that community partnerships become transformational both for your club and for the organization. By creating a space where you are a positive partner, not only does that relationship usually result in financial resources, but it also makes you the kind of partner that partners go to talk to other people about. So you become the place for people to go to. An example of that, Columbia Bank, which is a local bank here in New Jersey, had a large volunteer opportunity, and we worked with them, and they helped us wrap presents during the holidays, et cetera, et cetera. We had not asked them for money, but as the year progressed and we went into another year, and they had just helped us wrap all these presents and served food during the holidays and all the magic that happens in the club, we asked them for help in updating our tech lab, and they granted us a $20,000 grant to update all the technology. So one turns into the other. Instead of being transactional, it becomes transformational, it becomes meaningful. They come back time after time after time because we're not always asking them for funds. We are offering them solutions to what they want to do. Okay, you can switch the slide. So what goes into a community partners campaign? It's comprehensive. So this is the first part of that definition. So your social media, your website, PR, the beautiful young lady on the right-hand side holding the thank you, that is a sign, a large sign that we have at our gala. And what we do is those signs actually get given to the sponsors and they take them back. So again, it's a touch point, touch point, touch point. It's important that whenever you're doing any of the kind of marketing communications plans, that it is clear, it is branded, and it is consistent. I am a stickler for making sure that our logo is included, making sure that our name is always spelled properly, making sure that when people see us, the look of the flyers and messaging is all the same. And so that's why I wanted to suggest everybody, if you want to look at our website, you'll kind of see what I mean by that. Consider also what's not in here is billboards, free press, using the board resources, your board members to ask for other resources. And one of the things that I want to be very clear about is that sometimes the board and the executive director don't always see this as on task for development because it's not specifically asking for money. However, you need to convince them that it is on task because being a good partner will, as I said, transform into financial asks. Okay, so what goes into a community partners campaign? There are, to connect to the corporations and other business entities, we kind of narrowed this down to 3 different steps: identify, introduce, and involve. One of the things that we did, a success story that we had, was with an organization called Cognizant. They are an IT company. We have a very strong STEM program. For those of you who don't know, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. And we consider them a big fish that has helped us transform this community partner program so that other partners want to come and work with us. They came to us through a grant, which was a cold call grant that we received from them from our STEM program. But we invited them to the club. They came to the club. They brought a local congressman with them. We got press in our local paper. One of their executives actually made a personal donation, and then during the year they had laptops which they donated to us. They had STEM volunteers come in. They also sponsored some maker workshops for our kids, and they funded us again the next year. So that's the kind of thing that I hope for and strive for, is to have that large and that powerful of a relationship with the community partners. Okay, so how do we identify? So if we go to the next slide, first couple things you need to do: set your goals, set your standards, set your timeline. This is called the Dirty 30. So somebody told me about this. You got to do the Dirty 30 to get to the Heavenly 70. So this is homework. This is housework. How many prospects do you want to reach? How are you going to identify? Who's going to open the door? Who's got the spreadsheet that tracks everything? What will the communications look like? When are you going to send it out? What are you going to offer? How do you speak to everybody? When will the campaign be getting at? What kind of resources? So all of this kind of stuff has to get done before you do anything else. You have to make time. It's important, and it should be done by the development staff, but it should be in conjunction with the board and or your resource development committee if you have one. But regardless of who's doing the housework, everybody needs to be all in. Your board needs to get behind it. Your executive director needs to get behind it. Your program people need to get behind it because they're the ones who work with the volunteers. So that's important. The board members who own businesses who are senior management in businesses can jumpstart this. So that's important to consider too. Not only because they can make or break they can make the difference to get things started, but they also will be able to give you the positive, or they'll be able to give you real feedback. So you want to go to them and say, look, this is what we're looking to do. And as, let's say, one of them is in the bank, they can kind of give you feedback. Well, our bank isn't going to do that, so that it gives you a good sounding board. So that's important to remember. Okay, so we're going to do a little step through on this. The first goal, now I'm using some of the goals that we set for our campaign last year. Goal number 1 was to identify 50 prospective community partners whose community engagement objectives match with our club's programming. That means don't go looking for people who are focused on breast cancer, or, like I said before, animal shelters. You want them to match with your programming. It's not worth your time, not worth their time. So that's goal number 1. And then if you can flip the slide. So how do we do that? Where do we get them from? Identification, current corporate supporters. I'm sure that all of you have a number of corporate supporters already, either in your database as current donors or people that at least you have their contact information. They haven't donated yet, but you have their contact information. So maybe there are ways to increase their engagement throughout the year without actually asking them for money up front. And I'll kind of go through some of that a little bit later. New prospects, research supporters of youth organizations in your community. Find out who funds grants and foundations in your community. Get your Chamber of Commerce list. Have board members introduce you. Host a business networking event. All of these things are ways to get new prospects in. Find out your Boys and Girls Clubs of America corporate partners. Our Toyota Financial Services ambassador is terrific. He's absolutely amazing, and he's in the club every so often, usually about once a month. We honored Toyota at our gala a couple of years ago, and they have become a great supporter of our club locally, as well as Toyota being a national BGCA corporate partner. And then community stakeholders, hospitals, elected officials. Our fire and police departments do payroll deductions that are over about $25,000 a year aggregate. So just kind of think about those things. The things you need, time, you have to find, not find it, actually, you have to make it. Sorry, that's incorrect. Don't find it because you'll never find it, make it. You need a list of your current community partners. You need a tracking spreadsheet. You need board support. These are the things that are going to get you moving along. I am a great believer in spreadsheets because they help you track things. Make sure you're staying on target. So goal number 2 is the Turnkey Solution, clear, concise marketing materials. How are we going to reach them? How do we tell them who we are? So if you can flip to the next slide. This is an example of our brochure, and it's very specific as far as who we are, what we do, where we do it, who benefits from it, and who our community partners are. And you can see on the right-hand side the community partners and where we put our logos. So this brochure is a PDF, and it goes out to everybody that I introduce to the club. It works for me, it works for board members, it works for RD committees, anybody that needs to understand what we do. So this was just created in Publisher, so it's you can do whatever it is that you want. But please note a couple of things. There's a logo, our logo, and there's lots and lots of white space. When you're considering how to lay out a marketing piece, consider that you can't put everything in the world in there, and you need to give people breathing room so they can see what's what. Oh, I'm just looking. There are questions. Let me just see what. Oops. You know what, Heather? Maybe you can help me see the questions because I can't see them in here. So, if you can. So that's goal number 3. Establish the tracking spreadsheet. Here we go. One of my favorite and least favorite things. If you can flip the slide, and I will show you an example of our spreadsheet. And so. Very simple. Community partner, are they new, are they existing? Did they get an invitation to the gala and all of these other things, Stuff the Bus, Golf Heroes, Holiday, all of those things, what do we want to invite them to? I can tell you right in the middle where it says grant, not everybody has the opportunity for a grant. So this helped us kind of keep track of everything and also be able to very specifically show our success as we went through stuff. On the right-hand side is social media, which includes what we should do and what we need to do. So that's important. Okay, so it's goal number 4, organize community partner volunteer opportunities. Okay, so this is something I'm going to, there's a couple different slides here. If you can go to the first one. This is called Stuff the Bus. This is our backpack and school supply drive. So yes, there are sponsorship opportunities, but that's just for other people who hadn't yet been involved. This was it's an annual event that we do. The first year, which was last year, we got about 500 backpacks. These are for our summer campers. This year, 650 backpacks, and they are backpacks stuffed with school supplies, and they're handed out to every summer camper. It's a wonderful opportunity, and when we say stuff the bus, we mean that literally we take our bus, and we have about 6 kids that come with us, and we go and we pick up from one place to the other and literally stuff the bus with backpacks and school supplies. It's a great way of doing stuff. It's a great opportunity for volunteers to give and also to distribute the backpacks here at the club. So it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. If you can click through to the next one, our holiday dinner and toy drive. We hand out about 1,400 toys. There's Santa there, so this is a huge volunteer opportunity. Getting toys, wrapping toys. We had about 100 volunteers from ADP here last year, and then also helping us set up the gym. So this was a big deal as well. And then the last one, at least in volunteer opportunities, is called Book Buddies. That's our after-school reading program where we put together individuals with individual kids, and they can just read. So that's an important thing. So those are just a couple of volunteer opportunities. Goal number 5: expand support for our signature events, and then add key events with meaningful touch points. If you can flip to the next one, this is our college and career quest, and right down at the bottom, there's our community partners on there, and these are partners that didn't cost them anything to join, to sponsor, but they were in front of parents and students. Again, notice at the top, there's a logo. Notice the white space. Making sure that it's easy to read and that all of your stuff looks as the same, so that it's always looking like the same voice. Much of what you see has, I guess, somewhat of a corporate approach to it, which is good because you're going for community partners. But again, the most important thing is clear, concise, and branded. And then the next one, this is a discovery tour. So one of our club alums is Victor Cruz. For those of you who don't know, he is a New York Giants wide receiver. He's a terrific, wonderful man. We hosted a discovery tour here, and Vic was part of that. So we invited our community partners to that night. And anytime we do things like this, we try to make sure that our community partners have tables, that they are reaching the audience that they want to reach, and that we get them in the door. Not everybody is able to see. But so anyway, so that's another example. So goal number 6. Create and maintain your organizational website and social media platforms. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of groans going on amongst you all. Like it or not, this is important. So it used to be printed newsletters and your annual appeal. Nothing happens that slowly anymore. You must have your website and you must have your social media. If you can flip the slide, this is some Facebook post samples. So we post to Facebook, or actually we post on social media 3 times a week. That is done by a social media volunteer. All of the content is figured out at the beginning of a month and then planned out and automatically scheduled. If we have something that comes up in between, we can manually adjust it, but it is critical. And if you look at those Facebook samples, you can see Bank of America, you can see Optimum, you can see all the names on the checks, you can see all of the different community partners, which is exactly where they want to be. So that's really important. If you take a look at the next slide, this is our website, and that big red arrow is pointing to Berkeley College and the Bank of New York. That area actually scrolls, so our community sponsors are constantly on there and moving, so that's important. So with that in mind, we want to just hear more about what you do for with your website and your social media. So we're going to do a quick poll. Okay, great, perfect, that's good. Next one is just about your social media, which again, I'm sure you're all groaning about. I'm glad that we have a volunteer to do it, so. Okay, so 97% are staff members, and good for you, the couple that are able to have that service done by an outside vendor. So you all know the difficulties in getting and keeping social media, but it is critical, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later. So goal number 7 is to establish and maintain contacts with the local press. These are the people who are going to share those positive stories about you. So you need to know who these people are, because you're going to be the one who call them, and then you're going to be the one who's going to be able to share the good news coming from Patterson or Passaic or wherever you all are. That's important. So if you can go to the next slide, this was that organization Cognizant. This was the local press that we received, which was 2 different times. And the person who wrote this, Min Jae Park, he wrote both of them. And whenever I have a news story, I email him, I call him, I say, Min Jae, I got some good news coming out of Patterson, because a lot of the times the news is not good coming out of Patterson. So spend the time. If you don't know them, get your board members, maybe they know somebody. So that kind of gives you an idea of the identification, right? This is how we get to know everybody. This is how we set our goals. Now, how do you introduce the club? Now, what do? Now you got this list. So how are we going to get there? This step is where all the hard work you did on your brochure and your materials and your sales pitch. It's about the way you talk about your club. And one of the things that's important, everybody talks about the elevator speech. I think it's actually an elevator sentence. So, for instance, here at the club, I would say the Boys and Girls Club of Patterson and Passaic serves 1,300 children daily at 12 sites in 2 of New Jersey's most socioeconomically challenged neighborhoods. We serve these kids through athletic, academic, and artistic programming after school, as well as 600 summer campers. So the idea here is to get comfortable with it and make sure that it's easy to remember. For us, we really do serve 1,300 kids, so I know we're on the larger size. But whatever that number is, be proud of it, shout it, make sure people know about it, because that's what impresses community partners. I hope that you all experience the magic that we experience here when people come in to visit our club and they meet our children. The kids are terrific, and the smiles and the art that they display on the wall, or the trophies for our swim team, or the dance program that does six dance things a year. Those are the kinds of things that once you get them into the club will make all the difference. So introducing your club. You could have your existing community partners, you can get a board introduction, you can cold call, you can mail a brochure and press kit, you can email. And one of the things that you should do is come up with that electronic version that explains the club, that has all of the pieces attached that you want to attach, and you can use that over and over again. You don't have to rewrite it. The key during this phase is to understand what they need to achieve, and then be able to customize to a certain extent how the interaction will be with the club. That's the kind of partner that you want to be. So you need marketing materials, you need your website and social media platforms, You need their contact information, and again, you need board support. So that's important. All right, so so that was identify and introduce. Now you want to involve. So volunteer opportunities, I showed you a couple of those. No cost events, you don't always have to ask them for money. Special events, meaning your signature events and a corporate challenge event, social media and web presence. Spend the time and spend the money to get updated on that. Make sure your volunteer opportunities are well managed. Make sure they are meaningful. Make sure that the kids are there and they are able to work with your volunteers. You know, we can only have the volunteers here when the kids are here, which is either 4:30 or 4 to 6:30 where we are, or when the kids are out of school. So we've scheduled discovery tours for every day the kids are out of school, because that's where the magic happens. So that's involvement. If you just go to the next page, you'll see we did a program this past year called Reading Heroes Corporate Challenge. It was amazing. It was amazing. For those of you who are familiar with Habitat, where they do a corporate build, it's similar, but what we did was you had the corporate partners. This was sort of a hybrid. So it was not our signature event and it was not a free event. It was right in between. The corporations would sponsor a team of about 5 volunteers for $750. Those volunteers came in and we had the kids rotate through. They read to the kids. They did a couple of literacy activities, and then the kids were all able to take 2 books home. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a great way to bring corporations together with us. So that's something to consider as well. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to remind everybody of, since we know that most of the people in this room have a 1 to 2 staff member in their development department, and I'm guessing most of them are 1, your time is really important. So, for instance, TD Bank is a big supporter of ours. I went to TD Bank in January, and I said, here are all the things that we're doing this year, and I'd like to ask you for this amount of money to cover these different things. And they said, okay, that's great. So ask once, because otherwise I would have gone back to TD 4 or 5 times. It isn't necessarily that you'll get more money or less money. It's that you will become a better partner to them. So, you know, they don't have to hear from you. Every time now I talk to TD, I say, who's going to attend the gala? Or the corporate challenge is here, you know, which volunteers are you going to send? So that's important. If you can flip to the next slide, this is what I want you to remember. I want you to remember to be the organization that asks once a year with a comprehensive list of opportunities that will help community partners meet their community engagement goals. That's where you want to be at. There's a lot of stuff that has to go into that, but it's important to keep that in mind because it helps you set the tone. It also keeps you on track to not, each time you're doing something, whether it's the corporate challenge or your volunteer opportunities, that you're thinking about it in a larger way as part of a community partnership campaign. So that's just something I wanted to set your mind. Okay, so what should the community know about your club? How many kids do you serve? Hopefully you know that number, and hopefully that number increases year after year after year. They don't want to know average daily attendance. They don't want to know all of those kinds of things that your program staff do know and that you want to know as leaders in your organization. But how many kids do you serve? How long have you been in the community? How do you impact that community? Why would they want to come and invest with you? And those all go directly to the questions about the marketing materials and the resources. Do you have the resources and materials that you need to be effective in that communication? Can you live up to what you're promising as a community partner? And I think that you can if you really think through some of these. So if you go to the next slide, how are you going to let them know the good stuff? So I don't know how many people use bgca.marketing.net, but there are a lot of resources, and they are very easy to use. Use them a lot. Also, there's on on Facebook. Talk to your other RD people around the nation, in your community. See what they're doing. And RD Pro, all of these places have samples for you to look at. Again, I cannot stress it enough to invest in your website and social media. Make sure that those are updated and take the time to set it up. It's going to take some hours to set it up in advance, but it will pay off as you go forward. Use some free online sources for materials, and you'll see a couple examples of that. And then
Okay, it looks like Wendy may be having some technical difficulties, so I'm going to wait a second to see if she comes back on.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Heather, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry. Okay, so keep consistency and always brand your materials. Obviously, I'm like the brand police here, as you can tell. Okay, and also during when you're thinking about all this, recognize that the good stuff, all of that marketing, that's your personality. And your personality should reflect what happens in your clubhouse. And again, if your clubhouse is anything like mine, it is enthusiastic, which is the word I choose to use instead of the word loud. It's happy, it's joyful. Our kids are just like all the other kids in New Jersey. What they lack is opportunity. So keep that personality going. Okay, if you can switch to the next slide. This is an example of something I created on Pictochart, and it talks about our club. It is very specific. It's designed to show statistics. It is not designed to inspire. It's, you know, all of the things I was just talking about, personality. This is statistics, which some people actually prefer. So that's just an example. And the next slide is also an example of something I created on Canva.com for a discovery tour. So these are free things. They're easy to use. Again, lots of white space, lots of ways where people can go, what is this? Oh, I see. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so the next slide. What do you know about your community? Hopefully you all know that banks are required by law to support the neighborhoods they serve. Start there. They're already out there looking for you, so if you haven't connected with them, please do. They have CRA officers. They are audited on this, so it's important. Then try to find out who are the key players in your community about business, politics, education, health. Are these people already on your board? If they are, have them help you with this. Who invests in your community? Who cares about youth in your community? And who do you see supporting nonprofits in the news? A lot of what happens when you do this is you become the voice at the table. So when something is happening about youth services, they now call the Boys and Girls Club of wherever you are.
Hey, Wendy.
Yeah.
Are you on your computer, on your phone? Some people are saying it's hard for them to hear you. So I didn't know if you were having some sound issues on your end.
I was having a problem with the phone, so hopefully you can hear me a little better on the computer.
Okay.
So I've gotten closer to the computer, so hopefully this helps.
Okay, yeah, that's a little better. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So just a couple more slides and then we'll be able to take questions. I want to go back to the first slide, or the next slide actually, which is the first slide. A comprehensive effort to connect corporations, small businesses, chambers, and other business-related entities to your organization through a year-round strategy that provides a turnkey solution to match the community engagement goals of partners to your club. That's what you want to do. So the next slide, just remember, identify, introduce, involve. And then just to kind of give you an idea of how I see community partners before they come in, that's what everybody looks like, right? But once they get to your club, this is what they look like. Yeah, so hopefully that's given everybody a laugh, because that is truly what our community partners are like. They look forward. I have people calling me already for the holidays. I have I had people calling me in June for the stuff the bus, and that's what happens. Your momentum builds. So the next slide here. So go get them. Go show them the opportunities that exist at your club, and they'll be hooked for life. They'll be your partners forever. So just keep that in mind. So let's go to questions. And it's a little hard for me to read, so maybe Heather, for some reason on the computer, I can't see the whole question.
Okay, I can go through and ask you. Give you the questions if that helps. Okay, so someone asked, will we get a copy of the slides? Yes, I will email them out to you all at the conclusion of this call. So just be on the lookout of that. I have all of your email addresses from your registration. Someone asked, who do you consider a community partner? Is there a minimal level of financial partnership? And that was asked by Beth.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So community partners are not, I don't ask them for money up front. We invite them to the club first and foremost. That gives us time to listen to what they're trying to achieve and be able to fit them in the right space. We make sure that they are aware of all of the events that we have going on and all the opportunities, but typically it's kind of like dating, right? You're not gonna ask for the big thing on the first date. You want to get to know them. You want them to get to know you, and truly, you want them to get to know the kids. And you're forming a relationship. You're not just asking for money. So remember that slide at the beginning with transactional and transformational. So consider it a relationship, not a transaction.
Okay, the next question. These companies on the spreadsheet, do you include corporate partners who are also just event sponsors?
Yes, absolutely. So what we do with the event sponsor, that's actually where we started. And we engage them with the new events that we put in, like Stuff the Bus and Holiday Dinner and Toy Drive, like the Career and College Quest, because we knew that, for instance, the Career and College Quest, we knew that Toyota would be on that. We knew all of our educational partners, Berkeley College and a lot of the other things that we knew that they would already be in, and we didn't charge them for that. But it was a way to tie them again to the club and again to our teams. So our team program is a big deal, or our STEM program, whatever it is that they're interested in, we're able to amplify not only the program, but also amplify their support of our club. So if cognitive comes into STEM, you want them to also be able to help with the Holiday Dinner and Toy Drive, which they did. So it's definitely, you start there, you need to branch out, you need to offer them other opportunities, and you need to not always be asking them for money.
All right, the next question, someone asked if this was going, if they could get a recording of this for their development staff. This webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel as well as .net, and I will also include that information for you all when I send out the presentation. Next question from Beth also, how much money do you ask a community partner to help support all of your opportunities?
That depends. What I do is, so I'll use TD as an example. We asked them for, I think it was $5,000 for the year. We requested them to be a $2,500 sponsor to our gala, and I believe like a $1,500 sponsor to the end of the year, so we're $25, $35 more. And then a corporate challenge sponsor for $750. So there are times when I will bundle that and give them, a little bit of a discount or something like that, but it depends upon the partner, and it depends upon how far into the relationship you are. It should be something that's a fairly natural discussion rather than a worrisome point. If you are worried about how much to ask for, then you may not be in the right space with that partner to make that ask then. So the conversation, or the key, would be to have the kind of relationship with that organization, and that's why we start with volunteer requests, because we don't want to ask them for money right up front. We want to make sure that they're engaged, and I'll use ADP as an example. So ADP is a huge organization, and it was started in Patterson. It started right here. So
we have the capacity to ask them for money. We know that they support other organizations in Patterson, but I haven't been able to get through the door. I haven't been able to get to the foundation people. After our ADP volunteers came to help wrap gifts, and then they also helped to come and set up the gala, and oh, by the way, another group of volunteers is coming to our golf tournament to help work some holes. Now I'm able to make a foundation request, and not only do I get through the door, but I get through the door and I've got a whole bunch of ADP support already behind me. So that's where you want to be at. So it's less about the amount of money than it is about creating a relationship where everybody achieves their goals. So it's a long-term outlook, not a short-term. So it's a little bit, Beth, if I understand what you're asking, you know, I know we all have goals to meet for our signature events, and I understand that that's important. The challenge is you can either get them for that one time for that event, or you can try to have a longer-term discussion with them. And it's a little bit of a paradigm shift, and not everybody buys into it. So I hope that answers the question.
All right, and the last question also from Beth, do your community partners receive a table for your gala event, even if they have already supported you all financially throughout the year for your programs?
So again, that goes back to if the agreement was for them to get a gala table, then yes, they get a gala table. We're not going to give away those things. It's not about losing money. It is about gaining a relationship that transforms the agency and transforms the interaction that they have. So again, it's less about the dollars and cents, more about the interaction. There are many times in the last year and a half or so that these relationships have been transformational for our kids too. So there are so many volunteers that come through and read to them that it starts to branch out into individual support, whether that is resources, like I said, with our cognizant giving his own personal donation, or these amazing stories that the volunteers do for reading bureaus then go out and tell. So again, try to consider it not so much dollars and cents, but as a long-term strategy. And so Beth, just so you know, I still have my gala spreadsheet, and I have to include TD Bank as a $2,500 sponsor. I don't put them in a community partners budget. I still have my signature event budgets. So that's important to remember, because you still got to hit all those budget, all those goals that are on the RD person. Okay, so any other questions?
No, that was it. A few participants asked if it would be possible for you to just kind of give a breakdown of the questions and answers that you provided, since they're kind of still having a hard time hearing you, and then I can also send that to them via email. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the technical audio difficulties, but I do appreciate everybody's time. You know what I will do? I don't know if you can do this, Heather, or not, but you can certainly share my information, my contact information, if you would like to. So if anybody has follow-up questions, I can they can contact me directly.
Yes, absolutely. I will include that as well.
Okay. Well, then we ended a little bit early, and again, I appreciate everybody's time, and I wish you much success with your Community Partners program, and I'd love to hear how things go.